definition of civil. You can get that for me?
Yeah.
Get a definition of what the word civil means.
Come on.
Go ahead and read that when you got it.
The definition of civil, adjective, of relating to or consisting of citizens.
So, anything dealing with civil has to do with the citizens of a state, country, government. Go ahead.
Of the commonwealth or state.
Uh-huh.
You want me to read find a more direct?
What else you got?
Right here, the sixth definition, of or in a condition of social order or organized government.
That's a good one. So it has to do with the social order of things, because without order, of course, you have chaos. And that's one thing that people fail to realize, that the Bible is the Israelites' constitution. This is what our government is supposed to be founded by. These were the laws that were going to be governing our people. So with that, let's get an understanding real quick of why we need these laws in the first place. Let's go to the book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 14, and verse 33. Because the thing is, when you talk to a lot of people these days, for some reason, they talk down upon the laws of God as if they're a bad thing. But these same people follow the laws of America. It's kind of hypocritical. They'll stop at a stoplight or a stop sign because, you know, it's the law. But when they say that they're Christians or Catholics and that they believe in the Bible, they won't stop at the red lights they see in the scriptures. When Most High says, don't do this and don't do that, they still go ahead and do it anyway. So it's kind of hypocritical. But like I said, these laws, they're here for order, because without it we have chaos, and that's what you see amongst the communities of so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. It's a lot of chaos and confusion. So go ahead and read that.
The book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 14, and verse 33.
Uh-huh.
For God is not the author of confusion.
You see that? It says, God is not the author of confusion. Go ahead.
But of peace.
But of peace. So many people fail to realize that through keeping God's laws, you actually have peace in your life. Go ahead.
As in all churches of the saints.
And all of the churches of the saints are supposed to be in that same peace, that same like mind, because we're all supposed to be adhering to the commandments. Let's go to the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 30. Because the Most High, he says things so beautifully in the scriptures. The warnings and the signs that he gives our people, you know, we choose to ignore them, but at the end of the day, he said it's very simple. I'm giving you two things. He's going to tell you which one to choose from. Go ahead and read that, 30 and 15.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 30, verse 15.
Uh-huh.
See, I have set before thee this day life and good.
Man, the Most High said, look, I've set before you this day life and good. Go ahead.
And death and evil.
So the Most High, of course, he has that balance. He got to give you the good with the bad. It's presented before you. Go ahead.
Verse 16. In that I command thee this day to love the Lord thy God.
And here's the cold part, because so many of our people feel like we actually have a choice. He said, I've set before you this day life and good, death and evil. I command you to love the Lord thy God. You don't have no choice. If you're an Israelite, you have no choice. It is not up to you. You have commandments that you have to follow. Thus saith the Lord. Go ahead.
To walk in his ways.
Uh-huh.
And to keep his commandments and his statutes and his judgments, that thou mayest live and multiply.
And that's the thing. By keeping God's commandments, we get to live and multiply. Multiply everything. Man. Your substance, your tribe, your villages, your kingdom, your nation, your wealth, everything. Go ahead.
And the Lord thy God shall bless thee in the land whither thou goest to possess it.
Mm-hmm.
But if thine heart turn away, so that thou wilt not hear, but shalt be drawn away, and worship other gods and serve them, I denounce unto you this day that ye shall surely perish.
So we shouldn't be scratching our heads and crying when we have all this chaos and all this death within our communities, when the Most High said, if you were to draw away from my commandments and serve other gods, which is exactly what blacks and Latinos do, he said, no, for surely you will die. That's the thing. I love the Most High because he be keeping it so raw with you. Like, it's never a guessing game with the Most High. We play games with ourselves, and that's why we end up confused. But if you just read the word, you wouldn't be confused. The Most High said, you must surely know that you will perish if you do otherwise from what I'm telling you to do. Go ahead.
And that ye shall not prolong your days upon the land, whither thou passest over Jordan to go to possess it.
Now check this out. This goes for anybody in attendance, for anybody who may be watching online. Go ahead.
Verse 19, I call heaven and earth to record this day against you.
So this day, this time, right now, is being recorded by the angels in heaven. Go ahead.
That I have set before you life and death. Blessings and curses.
So here it is. You have sin, you had a law, righteousness and wickedness. The Most High said, I'm recording this day. Which one are you going to choose moving forward? Go ahead.
Therefore, choose life.
He said, look, man, I'm trying to tell you the easiest way to go about this thing. You seen Boondocks, the booty warrior? And he said, you can either do this the hard way or the easy way.
I don't think I watched that one.
That's what the Most High is saying. Look, man, you can do it the easy way, you can do it the hard way. Choose life. Go ahead.
That both thou and thy seed may live.
For thou and thy seed may live. So let's jump into these laws that our people were supposed to be keeping. Let's go to the book of Exodus, chapter 21. Yeah, you got to watch that episode, though. It was funny. He said, he said, you can do this the easy way, or you can do this the hard way. The choice is yours.
I think I've seen that one.
Yeah, so Exodus chapter 21, and let's start at verse 12.
The book of Exodus, chapter 21, and verse 12. He that smiteth a man so that he die shall be surely put to death.
So, of course, we know about murder. Go ahead.
And if a man lie not in wait, but God deliver him unto his hand, then I will appoint thee a place whither he shall flee.
Brother Raya, you know what that's dealing with?
You know what? Right
Yeah.
here. Right.
No, I was just reading it again.
So the Most High said in verse 12, he that smiteth a man so that he die shall surely be put to death, because that's murder. But he said, hey, if a man lie not in wait, meaning if this man wasn't consciously thinking about it, premeditated murder, but the Most High just so happened to give that man's life into that man's hand, it says, I will appoint thee a place whither he shall flee. You know what that's dealing with?
I don't.
So this is dealing with what you call, not the city of truth, but the, let's go to the book of Numbers. It's the city of refuge.
Like an accidental murder.
Yeah, exactly. This is for accidental murders.
You said what book?
Numbers, chapter 35. See, the Most High, it's so many laws in here that our people don't even know about. Our people be focused like on, they be trying to know the prophecies and all that. The Most High said, man, make sure you get that law first. You know, even going over this lesson was like a refreshing for me, because, you know, we read through these books all the time and you forget what you read over. I know me personally, every time we go over the creation, I always get a new understanding. Every time I'm like, dang, I didn't even see that time I read it. But yeah, so Numbers 35, and you can start at verse 9.
The book of Numbers, chapter 35, and verse 9. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When ye be come over Jordan into the land of Canaan, then ye shall appoint you cities to be cities of refuge for you, that the slayer may flee thither, which killeth any person at unawares.
So these cities were literally set up for accidental murders. If you killed somebody unaware, not knowing, it wasn't premeditated, you had an actual place where you could flee to. Because remember, Back in those times when we was really keeping the law, if I know for sure that you killed my cousin, I get to kill you off top. If it was unlawful, I get to come for your head, and others we all supposed to jump in and handle that. So watch how the Most High had this set up for our people. Go ahead.
Verse 12. And they shall be unto you cities for refuge from the avenger.
So from the avenger, like I said, if I know you killed somebody in my family, I'm the avenger. I'm supposed to take your blood according to the law. Go ahead.
That the manslayer die not until he stand before the congregation in judgment.
So that's the thing. So many of our people, we always trying to do our own thing. I don't do the whole camp thing. But all throughout the scriptures, you see about congregations, camps, and you got to come before judgment. People try to act like this is a brand new thing that we're doing here in 2019. It's according to the scriptures. Got to bring forth your matters to the council, to the judges of Israel. Go ahead.
Verse 13.
Drop down to verse 15.
Verse 15. These 6 cities shall be a refuge, both for the children of Israel and for the stranger, and for the sojourner among them, that every one that killeth any person unawares may flee thither.
So not only for us, but for the heathen as well, because they did live amongst us. Go ahead.
Verse 16. And if he smite him with an instrument of iron, so that he die, he is a murderer. The murderer shall surely be put to death. Verse 17. And if he smite him with throwing a stone, whether he may die, and he die, he is a murderer. The murderer shall surely be put to death.
Yep.
Or if he smite him with an hand weapon of wood, wherewith he may die, and he die, he is a murderer. The murderer shall surely be put to death.
And you'll find out that the Bible is very repetitive, and it says the same thing over and over, because Israel, we try to find loopholes. He said, okay, I see where it says if I kill him with a piece of iron or a throwing stone, but it didn't say nothing about a piece of wood. The Most High said, nah, let me throw that in there too, in case you try to get slick. Go ahead.
Verse 19. The revenger of blood himself shall slay the murderer. When he meeteth him, he shall slay him.
Yep.
But if he thrust him of hatred, or hurl at him, by laying of wait that he die, or in enmity smite him with his hand that he die, he that smote him shall surely be put to death.
So drop down to verse 22.
Verse 22. But if he thrust him suddenly without enmity, or have cast upon him anything without laying of wait, or with any stone wherewith a man may die, seeing him not, and cast it upon him, that he die, and was not his enemy, neither sought his harm.
So the Most High is letting it be known, like, hey, because, you know, we worked with a lot of tools. Same thing like with the construction force today. You know, Shamar and Kanash, they do construction. If you building a house or whatever, and you 10 stories up, and you happen to drop your hammer and it hit the person on the first floor and happens to kill him, this is what it's going into. It says, hey, there was no enmity, there was no ill will or premeditated thought behind what happened. It was an accident. This is what it's going into, right? So it says that he died and was not his enemy, neither sought his harm. Go ahead, verse 24.
Then the congregation shall judge between the slayer and the revenger of blood according to these judgments.
So the matter will be brought forth before the council. Go ahead.
And the congregation shall deliver the slayer out of the hand of the revenger of blood. And the congregation shall restore him to the city of his refuge, whither he was fled. And he shall abide in it unto the death of the high priest.
Because here's the thing, that man had to stay in that city, because you don't know how somebody might be feeling about that. It may be an accident, but at the end of the day, like, what if you kill somebody's mom? Somebody's son's like, you still killed my mama. I'm still feeling a type of way towards you. So they said, hey, to keep things safe, that man can't go back to his own home. He's going to have to sit there and stay in that city of refuge until the high priest of that time dies. That was the oath. That's what happened. That's what had to go. Go ahead.
Which was anointed with the holy oil. But if the slayer shall at any time come without the border of the city of his refuge, whither he was fled.
Now check this out. It's saying if that man who was told to stay in that city of refuge, at any time, if he happens to leave the borders of that city, go ahead.
and the revenger of blood find him,
and dude finds him, go ahead,
without the borders of the city of his refuge, and the revenger of blood kill the slayer.
So dude finally got a chance to put his hands on him. It was understood it was an accident and all that, but he's still feeling a type of way. Go ahead.
He shall not be guilty of blood.
It said dude's not even going to be guilty for killing that man. Why not?
Because he should have remained in the city of his refuge.
He should have stayed his ass at home. And that's the thing. It's like, why would you leave knowing that's the law? You know, it's kind of one of those things where it brings out the truth of the matter. Because sometimes, you know, men, we may fall. Sometimes judgment didn't always go forth. But that's one of those things where the Most High put it on that man's spirit anyways. Like, nah, you ain't finna get away. You're finna walk about that city and get your just due. But even if he didn't, that was a mistake on that man's part. So a lot of people didn't know this law was in there. Was that all of that?
Nah.
Go ahead.
Until the death of the high priest.
Uh-huh.
But after the death of the high priest, the slayer shall return into the land of his possession.
Verse 29.
Verse 29. So these things shall be for a statute of judgment unto you throughout your generations in all your dwellings.
So that's something that was supposed to be upon us for generation unto generation. A law that's still supposed to be upheld today, of course, if we had those cities. All right, so let's go back to the book of Exodus 21. We're mainly going to be reading out of Exodus 21. There's plenty of other books that go into other laws, but there's so many. You know, I just want to give you guys a nice little, you know, preview to it. So I definitely urge you to read it on your own. So Exodus 21, and let's pick up at verse
13 or 14?
15.
The book of Exodus, chapter 21, and verse 15. And he that smiteth his father or his mother shall be surely put to death.
That's an issue that we have in our communities today. Mothers and daughters fighting, sons and fathers fighting. That's completely outside of the righteousness that the Most High set up for us. He said if that's going on, that person's to be put to death. That's one of the 10 commandments, to honor your father and your mother. Go ahead.
And he that stealeth a man and selleth him, or if he be found in his hand.
So if somebody steals somebody and sells him, or if he be found in his hand, you got situations where people is held for ransom. That's not no new concept in life. Israel been doing it all since day one. If you got that going on, what?
And he that stealeth a man and selleth him, or if he be found in his hand, he shall surely be put to death.
Now the funny thing is, because we know that according to Matthew chapter 5, that all these laws are still in play. Christ only did away with the sacrificial law. I mean, we still in the land of our captivity. We got stolen by Esau. As bad as some Hebrews want to save Esau, the Most High said he got to be put to death for that. Not only did he steal us and sell us, but we also going to be found in his hand. Like, he's guilty on all 3 accounts.
Man, everything.
It's funny, though, man. Our people are in for a rude awakening when Yahweh Shai comes back.
Facts, bro.
Go ahead and read verse 17.
Verse 17. And he that curseth his father or his mother shall surely be put to death.
Go ahead.
And if men strive together, and one smite another with a stone, or with his fist, and he died not, but keepeth his bed.
So check this out, because you had a lot of situations, you know, brothers fighting. We're not supposed to be doing that, but stuff happens. So it says you got a situation where men, they striving, they fighting against one another. Like Friday, right? And Craig pick up that block and hit Debo with it. Yeah. Situations like that, right? He says, and he doesn't die, but he's in his bed, right? Go ahead.
If he rise again and walk abroad upon his staff, then shall he that smote him be quiet.
He shall be quit, meaning he's not going to be guilty, you know, of blood or killing a man, but he does need to make restoration. And how is he going to do that? Go ahead.
Only he shall pay for the loss of his time.
So because that brother couldn't get up and do his, you know, day-to-day functions, he couldn't make money for his family, you would have to restore that man for that. Man walking on a cane, he might have been a carpenter or a painter. He can't get on roofs painting and stuff with a broken leg or a broken arm. So you got to make up for all that time and money that he lost. See, the Most High, he's really fair. When you really read these laws, like, you can see how we would be living in true happiness and perfection when we was in rulership. It's crazy that you would really have it today where you have all these pastors and all these deacons and all these churches teaching our people otherwise, that these are the things that we should not be keeping. It's nonsense. And you have to know it's satanic, demonic. I believe it was Creflo Dollar. He said, all Satan wants you to do is keep the commandments of God. That man is a devil. The book of Revelation literally tells us that the spirit of Satan is at war with the children of Israel that keep the commandments. Man. That's the battle. So why would he tell you Satan don't want you to keep the commandments? I mean, Satan don't want you to keep the commandments.
They don't even read Revelation.
They don't. Right. And they always hush on that part too. You seen my video when I got kicked out the church. When I brought that up, I'm like, y'all want to sit here? I said I was brought up thinking God loved everybody, that the laws of God was done away with, yet the church still collecting tithes, and that's a law of God in the Old Testament. And that's when he stood up, young man. It's crazy, man. And our people, we so sleep that we don't even see it. It's time our people wake up. It's high time for our people to rise up out of sleep. Where was we at? So,
the end of 19.
Go ahead and finish that off.
Only he shall pay for the loss of his time, and shall cause him to be thoroughly healed.
So he got to be thoroughly healed. Got to make sure that man is okay. And that's how the Most High kept the balance within the nation. Because if you're making sure somebody's thoroughly healed, that means you got to go check on him. You got to deal with his family depending on how bad he was injured. And that brings back that love, like, hey, man, like, I was on some BS, my bad, bro. I ain't really mean it for all this to happen. I was mad, blah, blah. You know what the brother said? I got to forgive you. Maybe I was tripping. And y'all built that bond back. That's how the Most High kept the love within the nation. Let's go ahead and read verse 20.
Verse 20. And if a man smite his servant or his maid with a rod, and he die under his hand, he shall surely be punished.
So here's the thing. You had in the scriptures where it was legal, lawful, for brothers to have other Hebrew servants. And also the heathens, of course. But you never know what situation might go on for you as the master to have to go and smite your servant. Now, we know we're supposed to be dealing uprightly with each other and, of course, with the heathen as well. There's a code of conduct. So it says if you just being deliberate and, having that rash mind where you want harm done to your brother and you smiting him or smiting her with the rod that he dies, the Most High said you're going to be punished. You know what the punishment is. It's death. Right? But go ahead.
Yeah, I have a little key right here. It says avenged.
Yeah, Khan, go ahead.
Yeah. Verse 21. Notwithstanding, if he continue a day or two, he shall not be punished.
Like I said, what if it's a situation where you running your business and your servant, who happens to be a Hebrew, you find him breaking in your business. It's dark, you don't know what's going on. You start putting hands on a person, you find out it's your servant, right? He hurt. He ain't dead, but it says, if he continue a day or two, so the Most High said he alive or he survived, whatever you put on him, it says you're not going to be guilty at that point. Why not? Go ahead.
For he is his money.
It says, for that was your money anyways. You was paying that man. He was working for you. See, the Most High kept the balance within Israel. He kept a cold balance. But the thing is, we dealt uprightly with each other, but it's a reason why all these laws are in place. It's a reason why we have to have judges within the nation, because there was small and large matters that just happens. It happens. We're supposed to be keeping the commandments, but that's not always the case. That's why right now we're practicing. So as the scripture said, once we in the kingdom of the Most High, he's going to change our heart. He's going to put it into us where we ain't have to tell our neighbor one another like, hey, you got your fringes, don't forget to get your fringes, don't forget not to cut your beard, you can't be eating pork. It's going to be in us already. By us rehearsing and practicing right now, the Most High is going to find those who's fit and bless us when we happen to be in our kingdom. So he said, notwithstanding, if he continue a day or two, he shall not be punished, for he is his money. Now check this part out. Read verse 22.
Verse 22. If men strive and hurt a woman with child.
You see how many different scenarios the Most High is given for stuff that can happen in real life situations? You might be out on the street. You see it all the time. Brothers getting car accidents. They get out the car trying to fight. Baby mama get out the car. She pregnant. She try to hop in. Go ahead.
so that her fruit depart from her.
So man, the brother happened to fall on the woman or whatever, and she loses her child. Go ahead.
And yet no mischief follow.
Meaning again, it wasn't premeditated. It was an accident. Go ahead.
He shall be surely punished.
So he has to be punished. Go ahead.
According as the woman's husband will lay upon him.
But because it wasn't intentional, it can't be murder. He can't be put to death for it. So whatever that woman's husband is going to require from that man for the loss of his child, that man has to give. Read on. Now check this out too, though.
And he shall pay as the judges determine. Verse 23. And if any mischief follow, then thou shalt give life for life.
Now here's the thing, because the scriptures are so dynamic, right? So now, Raya, it says, if any mischief followed that, then thou shalt give life for life. What do you take out of that?
Mischief follow. Shit. Give life for life. I mean, it should pretty much like eye for eye.
Yeah, for sure, eye for eye, but for what reason though? Like what other dynamic could you get for that? Because we know, murder is murder.
Yeah.
But what else can you get from that though?
I don't know. I don't know.
So this would go for the woman as well.
So say like abortion.
Abortions. Because think about it. It goes for the woman as well.
Okay.
It says if there was mischief that followed the loss of that child's life. So if the mother premeditated, knew she wanted to get rid of that kid, she happened to throw herself in the fight, knowing that the man was going to punch on her, kick on her, or if the man knew what he was doing, that's also going along the lines of abortion. Okay. If they wanted to get rid of that child, Most High said life for life. It don't matter at what stage in the pregnancy she's at, and that's the foolishness that this world will teach. Yeah. Well, if it's not up until this many weeks, it's not really a life. Yeah. The Most High said otherwise.
For sure.
He said life for life. He considered it a life. All right.
That's a good precept right there.
Con. These scriptures is dynamic, man.
Yeah.
Con. So we got that aspect. And then verse 25, burning for burning, wound for wound. Let's drop down and see, because of course in Israel we owned animals. Still to this day we have pets, and of course these laws still apply. Drop down and read verse 28. So we're going to get into some civil laws about animal conduct. All right.
The book of Exodus, chapter 21 and verse 28. Chapter 21, verse 28. If an ox gore a man or a woman that they die, then the ox shall be surely stoned, and his flesh shall not be eaten, but the owner of the ox shall be quit.
So man, I don't know how many brothers own oxes today, but let's say a brother got a pit bull. Your pit bull get out, happen to eat a kid, and kills that kid, your pit bull got to die.
Facts.
And it's so crazy because, we was at I don't know if you know, we was at the brother's house a couple of weeks ago, man, and some lady, big bulldog, happened to get out the fence, and all the kids was out in the front practicing for the gift, and the dog came by. Thankfully, it didn't hurt none of the kids. It stopped, and the owners came and got the dog, but, one of the sisters made a comment like, man, you better put your dog up for that dog have to die. That's according to scripture, and the owner of that dog got so offensive, like, if my dog died, that means some people dying. Like, nah.
That's wild.
Ignorant.
Wow.
You love your dog that much more than the life of these kids?
That was at the gift?
Nah, it was before the gift. It was at our brother's house. I didn't want to disclose all the information, online, but that was a legit situation. Talking to scriptures like, hey, you need to get that dog for someone mess around and kill that dog. That was the words. People got defensive. You better not kill my dog. It's like, for one, I didn't say I was going to do it, but I will if you're about to harm my kids. That dog's life means nothing in the grand scheme of things. So the Most High said that dog or that ox, whatever, it's supposed to be stoned. And that's the funny part, because you can kill an animal, just go up and stab it in the head or cut his throat. He said, no, you got to stone it.
A painful death.
You got to stone that animal. Go ahead.
And that's a slow. That could be a slow death. Either stone you pick.
Animals
man.
Is big. I don't know if y'all they got websites online where like I forget what they call it, like live leak and stuff like that, where you get to see like some gruesome stuff. Like back east, you can see people getting stoned. Yeah. They bury them, or sometimes they put them up on a post and tie them up, and you got people just throwing fastballs, big rocks at their head like the size of this. And their head just getting hit, boom, getting crushed. And you go, sometimes, you know, the people get lucky, they get hit with that first rock and they be out. But sometimes they got to survive that, and they you see them, they be gasping and stuff. You know, them animals, they heavy. They got them rock heads. You got to,
they do.
You're going to be throwing rocks for a while trying to kill an ox. But nonetheless, man, the Most High said that's the way they had to go, right? But it says, you know, the owner, he wouldn't have blood on his hands for that. He would be acquitted. Go ahead.
Verse 29. But if the ox were wont, is it wont?
Yeah, were
wont to push with his horn in time past, and it hath been testified to his owner, and he hath not kept him in.
So again, just like a regular day scenario. If you know you got a wild pit bull, everybody in the neighborhood is scared of your pit bull because they know it's wild. It's already then got out and hurt somebody. People told you about it, dog. Keep your dog locked up. And you didn't keep it locked up, and it happened to get out and kill somebody. What the Most High say?
And he hath not kept him in, but that he hath killed a man or a woman, the ox shall be stoned.
So the ox still got to go. That pit bull, that Rottweiler still got to go. But what else?
And its owner also shall be put to death.
Because you was dealing with a wild animal, and you wasn't doing your best and showing your love for your nation by keeping it in the proper place. Should have got rid of it. You should have been killed it and ate it if you know it was a wild animal like that. These animals be having spirits too. You got to check them.
Yeah.
You know these dogs, and they try to test you every now and then. I used to whoop my dog butt. Where you showing your teeth at? But you got some of those owners, they don't do that. It said like, man, you know you had an ox at, you know, certain times in the past, it was known for doing some reckless stuff. You needed to check that situation and you didn't. So now you got to pay the price too. You said what? Con. We share a lot of similarities within, you know, characteristics and how we move, just the nature of us between us and the animal kingdom. You know, it's not that far off. We share a lot of those same spirits. And just like you said, you got to check your kids when they be on that stuff too. And that's the thing, because you check it early so it doesn't become a big problem. Like, for example, you got some people who, they talk about the 7 deadly sins. And, you know, the Catholics, they usually say that. But there's so many other sins that will get you put to death. Like, for example, in 1 Corinthians, where it says, a thief shall not enter into the kingdom. It's like, dang, like, I know that's worthy of death like that. It's because it comes into a big problem. You start stealing candy, start taking these little things. Next thing you know, you're trying to take people's lives.
Yep.
Your little kids, they talking back to you while you young. You never check it. And now they putting their hands on you when they older. And now they got to be put to death for it. These things have to be checked.
Wages of sin is death.
Come on. Let's go ahead and drop down and let's read. Let's read verse 33.
The book of Exodus, chapter 21 and verse 33. And if a man shall open a pit, or if a man shall dig a pit, and not cover it.
So man, say you working on your yard, your front lawn. You trying to set up some new pipes or something, right? And you forget to cover your hole. Say you taking a lunch break, you leave for a couple of minutes. Go ahead.
And an ox or an ass fall therein. The owner of the pit shall make it good, and give money unto the owner of them. And the dead beast shall be his.
So it's like, dang, somebody dog or somebody cattle that fell into your hole, broke his neck and died. It says, man, you gotta pay that man for his ox. And then you left with the hassle of getting that heavy animal out of that hole. Right? Go ahead.
And if one man's ox hurt another's that he die, then they shall sell the live ox and divide the money of it.
Look at that. You walking down the street with your dog and another dog come and attack it and kill your dog. That man's dog that killed yours has to be sold now, and y'all split the money. The Most High is so fair. Like, dang, dude. Like, this is my food for my family. This is my livelihood. Come on, dog. People in the hood today, they gon', nah, man, that was your fault. It wasn't on me.
Should have kept your dog on a leash.
That's going to turn into a whole fight in itself right there. Brother's going to be fighting over that.
Dang.
You see, the Most High, he has it simple, man. So simple. Can you imagine in the kingdom, like, what is there to be mad about when you know, like, whatever happens, man, you know, I know he got me. I can't even be mad. You already rich, balling. You walking with your animal, falls in somebody's hole. It's like, come on, dog. You going to knock on the door. I need some money. My thing just fell in your hole. You ain't covered it up, bro. Oh, my bad, dog. Here you go. Shalom. Have a good one. Like, go and buy another one. It's so simple, I swear. This is what I can't wait to live in the kingdom.
Civil, man.
I'm trying to live these laws in the kingdom. Like, it's crazy. Let's go ahead.
Verse 36. Or if it be known that the ox hath used to push in time past.
Meaning that it was a rowdy animal. It was known for like bucking up against people, right? Go ahead.
And his owner hath not kept him in. He shall surely pay ox for ox.
So in this situation, you don't split the money. You have to pay that man fully because you knew you had a wild animal. So many different dynamics that the Most High has given for real life situations that can go on. Go ahead.
And the dead shall be his own.
And the dead shall be his own. So now he needs to take that dead man's ox or animal, whatever it was.
And deal with it.
And deal with it, yeah. So it's so many different laws, like I said, in these scriptures, man. And they're beautiful because you can see, you know, truly how we were going to be great. Hold this. Let's go to the book of Deuteronomy. Let me show you something, because a lot of times it's unfortunate, but the Bible gets so watered down with the way the world talks about it and teaches it, you know? When it's rich.
Yep.
It's rich. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 4, if I'm not mistaken. And read verse 5.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 4 and verse 5. Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Lord my God commanded me, that ye shall do so in the land whither ye go to possess it. Verse 6. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of all the nations.
Man, walking around as an Israelite is more than just making your fringes swing and having your beard glistening with oils, man. Like, the other nations are supposed to see you and be like, you know what? I know he's a wise and understanding individual. Keep reading.
I want to say something.
Yeah, come on, go ahead.
You're walking with the knowledge of the Most High.
Yeah,
the
literally.
one that created the earth. With that knowledge, I mean, what can you could do almost anything with that knowledge.
And to see our people just take it for granted, like, we were literally handpicked and given these laws in a box with the wrapping and the bow on it. Like, here, a present I'm only giving to you. And like, to see Israel just disregarded it is sad. It's pathetic, dog. Like,
sweet.
Man, that's why I could truly understand, like, how when Yahushua comes back, he's not having mercy on Israel no more. Man, he said, man, y'all ain't worth nothing for those who didn't want to repent. I never needed you. It's sad.
For him.
These other nations had enough sense to know that when they look at an Israelite, that is an upright individual. They're supposed to be smart, full of wisdom, the image of the Most High God. And we still looking at each other as niggas and baby mamas, and it's sad, man. Even in this truth, it's honestly sad. But keep reading.
Con. Which shall, let me start from verse 6 again.
Con.
Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation.
They said, surely this great nation. We don't even look at one another as a part of a nation no more. When you walking down the street, you don't see, look at that black man, he part of my nation. You do not think that. That is not the first thought that's going through your head, or a thought at all. Sisters, you don't be looking at your other sisters like, man, she's one of my own nation. We got to change that. The other nations know that we are a great nation. We just have to come back to what made us great. Go ahead.
Surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. For what nation is there so great, who hath God so nigh unto them?
It said, man, what other people on this earth has the creator of all things? The God that created the sun, the moon, the The ocean, so nigh, meaning so close unto them. We literally have it to where if you're righteous, you can call upon the Most High for help. And he will deliver you out of a situation. We literally have instances where the prophets called fire from heaven to rain upon cities. Y'all don't really know who y'all are. Go ahead.
As the Lord our God is in all things that we call upon him for.
Mm-hmm.
And what nation is there so great that had statutes and judgments so righteous?
And that's the thing. The laws of God are so righteous. Like I said, if any of those situations we dealt with, dealing with your property, was to happen unto you, at the end of the day, you can't even sit there and say, you know what, I don't feel that this is just. Because you in your own mind, you couldn't even come up with the system that good. When we out there street teaching, you have all these people coming up talking about, oh, we don't need the laws of God. And you know, we always throw them that common saying like, okay, let's put it this way then. If you were the ruler of your own land, how would you deal with this situation? And they never have a real acceptable answer. They say, it's just in us, brother, to know. Okay, for the brother over there who just raped that 4-year-old kid and didn't know, how would you punish him? Well, it wouldn't have happened. Bro, they can't even come up with a logical sense. All nations on this earth up until this time right now have all gotten their laws from this source right here.
It's been there from the beginning.
It's been here from the beginning. There's no law that man can say they came up with that's not bitten from this. There's no way. It's just crazy that, man, our people, even me at times, we just get so caught up in our own lives and our own day-to-day that we forget who we really are and who the Most High called us to be.
I like to ask people all the time, tell me which one of the laws won't help you in your personal life or in our communities around the world.
Exactly.
Like, tell me which one of them will not benefit us as a people.
Exactly. But
I
for those,
never get an answer though.
Because you're not. What you're going to find is you're going to find a bunch of cowards who are effeminate and says, oh, I can't deal with that Bible. It talks about, if a man talks back to his mother, you're going to put that kid to death. Oh, that's just inhumane. They go to stupid stuff like that.
And some people be like, that's bondage. You want to put us back in bondage. Like,
but these be the same parents you see walking up and down the aisles of Walmart, struggling trying to keep their kid in a basket,
Man.
and they getting cussed out because they have an unruly kid. It's nonsense, man. There's no greater way of life than what's been presented to us. And it's crazy. I was talking to Jakes, I think last week about it, that we don't even respect the process of how this book even got here.
Man.
The sacrifices our forefathers had to make sure that their kids would one day be able to read the same laws they was living by. I definitely encourage brothers to look into the Spanish Inquisition. Our people was going through hell trying to keep the laws of the Most High God. Literally knew that if they were found keeping the laws of God, that they would be put on stakes and burnt alive. And with all of that, still decided to secretly gather and keep these commandments, called the Moranos. It's where also the word Moors come from, secret Jews. It's crazy, the sacrifices our people went through. And just to see us like, just not care about it, man, it's crazy. But all praise be to the Most High, because it was already prophesied. Everybody's not going to care about this word. Only 1/3 was going to truly want to serve the Most High with the upright heart, with true sincerity. So that's what we teach to. That's what we looking for to congregate with. We don't do it for the numbers. It's not about that. So just finish that last part of verse 8.
Which I set before you let me start from the top. And what nation is there so great that has statutes and judgments so righteous as all this law, which I set before you this day? Only take heed to thyself and keep thy soul diligently, lest thou forget the things which thine eyes have seen.
And that's all I need from that, but that's a good point. We got to make sure that we watching ourselves diligently to make sure we keeping these commandments. Because the thing is, you know, I started off with going into the civil laws of more so, you know, running a business and you having your servants, things that you know, sometimes come across. But last time I checked, we all in the business of the Most High. Isn't that what Christ told his parents when he went missing? They was looking for him everywhere in the desert. Like, man, Christ, where you at? They finally got him. I bet they was hot. Boy, where the hell you been? He said, how is it that you looking for me? Don't you know I'm supposed to be about my Father's business? Like, we really called to work here. And the funny thing is, nobody gets a pass. Go to 2 Samuel, chapter 7. So just like the examples given earlier, it said, hey, if a master happens to put his hands or put the rod on his servants, looking at us in the scope of things of us working for the Most High. The Most High is our master, and he puts his rod on his servants sometimes because we be acting up. Even Christ didn't get a pass. Verse 14. Watch this.
The book of 2 Samuel, chapter 7 and verse 14.
Actually, start at verse 12.
Verse 12. And when thy days be fulfilled, and thou shalt sleep with thy fathers, I will set up thy seed after thee, which shall proceed out of thy bowels, and I will establish his kingdom.
So of course we know this is dealing with the prophecy of Christ. Go ahead.
He shall build an house for my name.
He shall build a house for the Most High's name. He's a worker. Came down here to do a mission, to do a job. Go ahead.
And I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever.
Now check this.
Verse 14. I will be his father, and he shall be my son. If he commit iniquity.
Even if Christ committed some iniquity, what?
I will chasten him with the rod of men. And with the stripes of the children of men.
Nobody gets a pass in this work, in this job that we work. Nobody gets a pass. Christ said, they said, man, if Christ would have sinned, I would have got with him too. So the end goal is you want to make sure you're not messing up. Make sure we're doing all things uprightly, keeping these commandments. That's all I needed from that. Let's go back to the book of Exodus. Let's go to chapter 22. Let's start at verse 1.
The book of Exodus, chapter 22 and verse 1. If a man shall steal an ox or a sheep and kill it or sell it, he shall restore 5 oxen for an ox and 4 sheep for a sheep.
So check this out. If you steal somebody's ox or a sheep and you kill it or you sell it and you get found out, you have to pay that man back 5 oxen or 4 sheep. Do you know how much money that is? That is a ridiculous amount of money. Like I said, a lot of times we don't have cattle, so you don't know like how expensive those things really are. But you look at like a horse. Some horses are like $25,000. Imagine you steal this man's black Mustang. You got to get back 5 of those. But you can understand also, too, why you have situations where masters will have Hebrew servants. It gets more into it. Go ahead.
Verse 2. If a thief be found breaking up and be smitten that he die, there shall no blood be shed for him.
So here's the thing. Somebody gets caught breaking into your house. You happen to get your hands on him, right? He dies from whatever it is you put on him. It says, hey, you're not accountable for that. He shouldn't have been in there. Go ahead.
If the sun be risen upon him, there shall be blood shed for him.
Ra'ayah, what's that mean? So it says, hey, if a thief come in, thieves usually come in at night. You find him breaking up, you happen to shoot him, whatever. Boom, you was just trying to shoot him in the leg, but he jumped, you hit him in the head, he dies. But it says, hey, if the sun be risen upon him, then there shall be blood shed for that man. What's that talking about? In a sense, yeah. So meaning there was light of the situation.
Right,
you know who it is. Yeah. You have an opportunity to bring that man before the judges. It's daylight. You know who's doing it. You have an opportunity to seize that man, bring him to the judges. You can call upon help from other Israelites around. but still you was just that mad you wanted to kill that man anyways, it says at that point then you're guilty. At night it's a whole different story. A man might have a weapon, you never know. You have a right to defend yourself, but you're not supposed to do things out of pure hatred out of your heart. Again, the Most High has that balance.
Even in the law, like if somebody come in your house and they back is turned to you trying to leave out the house, you can't even.
Yeah, Esau's law.
Esau law, yeah.
That's still a whack law, because what if they back towards you but they shooting though? Esau's still gonna find a way to lock you up. But no, Khan, exactly. That's another example though. Keep going.
Verse 3, if the sun be risen upon him, there shall be blood shed for him, for he should make full restitution.
So that's the thing. The Most High wants to make sure that man is getting his just due. What he was doing wasn't worthy of death per se, but he needs to make that situation right, because examples get put out into the nation. That's the problem now. We have no real examples of the laws being upheld in this type of fashion. Got brothers doing cold things to other brothers, and the laws never really getting executed like this. Instead of making that man a public example of how he needs to now work for you to pay you back or whatever, now he's just getting kicked out or whatever. So once we have more examples of this going on in the nation, we'll get closer and closer to perfecting the law. Go ahead.
If he have nothing, then if he have nothing, then he shall be sold for his theft.
So now you can understand why, if a man happens to steal that $25,000 Mustang and he can't pay 5 of them back, now he's going to be sold unto you because he needs to work for what he stole. Community service. And you're going to work him hard too, but you're going to him up rightly because it's just. He's going to be working them long shifts trying to pay that back. And that's also why I didn't go into it now, but you have what you call the year of Jubilee. You know, you got a Hebrew brother say you working for me, right? I got a 10-year housing project that I need your help on. You gonna work for me for a certain amount of years, but on that 7th year, you get to leave, and that contract is now canceled unless you want to come back. So your brother could never stay indebted to you forever, type of thing, unless they wanted to, because you have situations to where, hey, if you had a Hebrew brother, you got a real successful business, he's a partner or whatever, and you treating him well. He says, hey, I love my master. I want to work for him forever. It says, cool. At that point, he going to pierce his ear to let you know, like, hey, this is not my property, but just let it be known, like, hey, this man, he's with me. And there's nothing wrong with that. The scriptures say you can do that, but that's up to that man. But so for this brother right here, it says, hey, if he can't pay back what he stole, it says he's going to be sold for his theft. Go ahead.
Verse 4, if the theft be certainly found in his hand alive, whether it be ox or ass or sheep, he shall restore double.
Now here's the thing. When you're stealing something, you have to pay back double. That's the law. But remember, when we first opened up with this chapter, verse 1, it says, if a man shall steal an ox or a sheep, he has to restore 5 oxen. The difference with this scenario is, the first one, it says, if you kill it or if you sell it, you have to pay back 5, because at that point, that's just wrong. It's like, dang, I could have got it back from you if I would have caught you or whatever. You could just gave me one more. But in this case, if you kill it, it's lost forever. Or if you sell it, because if you sell it, it ain't no telling what's going to happen to it when it's gone out of that man's hand. They may kill it, or you might try to go and get it from someone else and say, this ain't yours, it's mine, But that's why it says here, it says, if the theft be certainly found in his hand alive, whether it be ox or ass or sheep, he shall restore double. So that's the law. You got to restore that man double. Verse 5.
Verse 5.
Dealing with your property. Go ahead.
If a man shall cause a field or vineyard to be eaten, and shall put in his beast, and shall feed in another man's field, of the best of his own field and of the best of his own vineyard, shall he make restitution.
So if you just got your animals eating, grazing in another man's yard, he could be eating the worst crops in his garden. But it says you need to take the best of your garden and give it back to that man. Again, what's more fair than that? It's like, damn, Go ahead.
Verse 6. If fire break out and catch in thorns, to that the stacks of corn or the standing corn or the field be consumed therewith, He that kindled the fire shall surely make restitution.
Surely make restitution. And again, that's where the judges come in. If he had 3 acres of land that you just burned up, that's serious. But if you only have 5 yards of land, like it's so many different scenarios that can go on in real life and that you see going on. How many times the Angeles forest thing caught fire? You know? And it's not like you didn't have rich men in Israel. King David, I'm sure he owned a whole lot of land. You happen to catch, all 200 acres of his land on fire, it's going to be a problem. And you're going to be working for that man for a long time. Man. Go ahead.
If fire,
Verse 7.
Verse 7. If a man shall deliver unto his neighbor money or stuff to keep, and it be stolen out of the man's house, if the thief be found, let him pay double.
So of course, like, hey, Ra'ai, I'm about to let you hold $100, man. You said you need 100, whatever it is. I'm gonna let you hold my car keys, my car, go watch my house, whatever. Someone breaks in, damages it, the thief is found, he got to pay back double, right? Go ahead.
If the thief be not found, then the master of the house shall be brought unto the judges to see whether he have put his hand unto his neighbor's good.
Because sometimes, brothers, they collaborate. They say, hey, look, the homie he just let me hold on to his brand new car. We're going to be out in public. You're going to run up on me and sock me and just run off in the car. You feel me? Make it look like, stuff happens like that. So he said, hey, at that point, if the thief can't be found, they got to go to the judges, and they're going to pray about it. They're going to counsel the situation and see if it was really something that happened, like out of whatever, or if it was planned. Go ahead.
To see whether he have put his hand unto his neighbor's goods. For all manner of trespass, whether it be for ox, for ass, for sheep, for raiment, or for any manner of lost thing, which another challengeth to be his, the cause of both parties shall come before the judges.
And that's the thing, like I said, what if that man had stole your ox and sold it, and now you going back to that man saying, hey, this is my ox, I know for sure. My ox had a scar behind his left ear. Your ox ain't had that, man, this is my ox. It said at that point it's got to come before the judges because he's challenging it to be his own. Go ahead.
And whom the judges shall condemn, he shall pay double unto his neighbor.
Easy. Go ahead.
Verse 10. If a man deliver unto his neighbor an ass or an ox, or a sheep or any beast to keep, and it die or be hurt or driven away, no man seeing it, then shall an oath of the Lord be between them both, that he hath not put his hand unto his neighbor's goods.
So sometimes that happens too. You may be, dog watching or whatever it is, and that dog happens to die. No one else can testify whether or not you did it or someone else did it. It's just your word versus, whoever gave it to you to hold. It says at that point you got to make an oath between you and the Lord that, hey, this wasn't done maliciously. That's a serious thing because back then we saw examples of like when people making oaths to the Lord and breaking them or keeping them, depending on what the oath was. A lot of times some bad stuff happened. Like Ratazan went into it Saturday morning when the brother made the oath to the Lord, like, hey, whatever come through my door, I'm going to give it to you in a sacrifice. And his daughter walked through the door. He couldn't go back on that. If he would have went back on that, then the Most High would have put him to death for it. So that was a serious thing. They had to make an oath between them on that. Go ahead.
And if it be stolen from him, he shall make restitution unto the owner thereof.
So if it was stolen from you, you got to make that restitution. Like, man, bro, dude ran up on me and stole your pit. I tried to chase him down, but he was fast, man. I'm gonna help you, restore that. Here's some money. I'll give you a little bit more too. Don't worry about it. Go ahead.
Verse 13. If it be torn in pieces, then let him bring it for witnesses, and he shall not make good that which was torn. And if a man borrow aught of his neighbor, it be hurt or die, the owner thereof being not with it, he shall surely make it good.
So here's the thing. If the owner's not there, you got to make it good. But go ahead.
Verse 15. But if the owner thereof be with it, he shall not make it good.
Go ahead.
If it be an hired thing, it came for his hire.
So I'm trying to think of like the most realistic way to put this in a real life scenario. So Like, you say you with your homeboy, right? Y'all just coming out the AT&T store. You trying to, like, hey, let me see your new iPhone. You on selfie mode, like, damn, this is dope. I don't know, something crazy happens. A dude on a bike just happens to go by and knocks the phone out your hand. And it says the dude's with you, so he saw what happened. It says at that point, you don't have to make it right. Like, dude, that was a complete accident. Like, you know I wasn't trying to do that, you know? So, like I said, these laws, man, they get real in detail on some stuff that can happen. And it's put out there broadly because there's so many small situations that can happen. Like I said, like, what's the chances of something like that happening, you know? Like, I remember when I was younger, we was coming down Vermont, and I seen a dude. I was at a red light. Dude just came out the store, got on his motorcycle. Looked like a brand new bike, too. He happy, you know, swagging, trying to show everybody on it. Take his helmet, put the helmet on, put the key in, starting it up. He revved the engine, just chilling. A seagull just came out of nowhere and smacked his windshield off, his side view mirror. And he was just like, oh, man. So, like, imagine if that was your homeboy's bike that he let you ride for the day, you know? That's where these type of laws come into play and can help with situations like that. So, like I said, it's really detailed. But let's drop down and read verse 25.
Verse 25. If thou lend money to any of many, if thou lend money to any of many people, oh, my bad. Of any of my people that is poor by thee, thou shalt not be to him as an usurer.
Yeah, usurer.
Neither shalt thou lay upon him usury.
So for those of you who don't know, a lot of people do this today. It's wrong for you to tax your people, to throw interest on them, to use them. But notice, the Most High said, if thou lend money to any of my people, this law does not apply to the heathens. I can't give you $100, Raya, because you late on your rent. I say, hey, pay your rent, but come next week, I need 150 back. That is unlawful for an Israelite to do. But because the Most High said you can do that to other nations, you can understand how we kept ourselves in a place of power, because that's exactly what the nations do to us. They took this law and used it on us. When you need a loan, sure, you can get $5,000 today, but after all the APR and interest you paying, you didn't pay this man back $6,500 over the course of 2 years. And he getting rich off of you, off the millions of our people that have to go get loans. He's getting rich doing nothing. It's the easiest thing in the game. And when you're in a position of power, you know how easy that is for you to use that law on the heathens? Man. A heathen come to you, Ron, I need $100. Oh, sure. Habib, no problem. For sure. Here's $100. Make sure next week you give me $500 back. There's no law on it. Like, hey, if they agree to it, they agree to it. Man, you can get rich. Get rich. Oh, yeah. These laws is beautiful. Keep reading.
Verse 26. If thou at all take thy neighbor's raiment to pledge, thou shalt deliver it unto him by that the sun goeth down.
I mean, you got to give your stuff back to people. Go ahead.
Verse 27. For that is his covering only. It is his raiment for his skin. Wherein shall he sleep? And it shall come to pass when he crieth unto me that I will hear, for I am gracious.
Con. Let's go to the book of Leviticus. Show you another way that our cities and our country stayed rich, not only just with substance, but with like true love, showing how, you know, the civilians acted with one another. Leviticus 19 and chapter 9. Because this is a cool thing too. It's a reality. Not everybody has money. Some people have more than others. Some people just getting by. Some people really be out here struggling. It doesn't mean that man's not righteous. Doesn't necessarily mean that, stuff happens. You got righteous people in the scriptures who just was down on their luck. But, the scripture said, hey, even though you be poor physically, you rich in spirit. So everybody's walk is different. That's why Christ said you got to carry your cross. He never said exactly what your cross was going to be. Whatever affliction you go through in this life, you got to take it on the chin. Like, hey, that's just your cross. We all going to meet at the same finish line, Lord willing. So Leviticus chapter 19 and read verse 9.
The book of Leviticus chapter 19 and verse 9. And when ye reap the harvest of your land, thou shalt not wholly reap the corners of thy field. Neither shalt thou gather the gleanings of thy harvest.
Now here's the thing. Some people will be like, if it's my field, this is my business. Why wouldn't I be able to clean up my whole field and sell it all? But look what the Most High had set up for our people. Go ahead.
And thou shalt not glean thy vineyard, neither shalt thou gather every grape of thy vineyard.
So you couldn't leave it bone dry, like how Esau does today. Go ahead.
Thou shalt leave them for the poor and strangers.
Look at that. For your brother who can't afford, he can come through, and not meaning he can just eat up your whole field, but man, like if the brother's just on his way trying to make something happen for himself, hey brother, I got some oranges, man, I got some watermelon. Eat. It's cool.
Is gracious.
And like I said, you're not just going to walk outside and see somebody in your yard and you're not going to say nothing to them. You're going to go up to them, have conversation. Again, this is how our nation stayed rich with love. You're getting to know people. It's the simple things like that. Communication. We don't even have that no more. How many times you be actually having like real conversations with people you see on the street? Not really. You might say what's up and that's it. You keep it pushing. Our people not really that social no more. Social media has made us not social. It's crazy. That social engineering is real. And that's the thing. Like, it's gotten to the points where our people feel uncomfortable talking to your own people just because you don't know them. Like, literally, they just look bothered. You try to speak to them, like, you
looking annoyed.
Man, like, oh, what do you want? Don't let them be listening to music. They got to, like, damn.
Like, oh, my bad.
I just wanted to say you got some real nice sneakers, bro. How you doing? Like, man, what's good with you? It's crazy, man. But it really be like that. It make you just stay to yourself, and it's sad because that's not how your nation thrives. It's sad. But we got an example of this in the book of Ruth. Let's go to Ruth chapter 2. And verse 15. Because it said not only was that for our people, but it said for the strangers as well. Because again, we did have these other nations that lived upon us. And that's the thing, man. Like, you got to make your servants like working for you. It's like with any job. For the jobs that, you know, they come together, they buying you lunch every other week or whatever. It make you feel better about going and working for them, you know. They say, well, at least it's worth it. I get to get some food out of it or something. That's how we treated the heathens. They loved working for Israel. We treated them good. And here's the thing I bet you didn't even know. King David, at one point, had the whole nation of Esau in his subjection. In his armies, in his bakeries, in his barbershops. Esau out of all people. And he was even like, man, what can I do? King David's the man. He's a righteous man. When you ruling in righteousness, man, the whole kingdom is going to be happy. So Ruth chapter 2, verse 14.
The book of Ruth, chapter 2 and verse 14. And Boaz said unto her, at meantime, come thou hither, and eat of the bread, and dip thy morsel into the vinegar. And she sat beside the reapers, and he reached her parched corn, as she did eat, and was sufficed, and left.
So she was a heathen. She actually had a chance to go and glean in, you know, I believe it's Boaz's field. Go ahead.
And when she was risen up to glean, Boaz commanded his young men, saying, let her glean, even among the sheaves, and reproach her not.
And that's the thing, reproach her not. Like I said, it's not a situation where you see somebody just traveling through your field and you're not going to say nothing to them. They press their issue like, hey, for one, who is you? Why are you always up in this field? You know, you got those old people on the block, the ones that stay at their front door behind the screen door and yell at the kids for being on their lawn. It's like, dog, like, there's no way you finna have people in your vineyard just eating and you're not saying nothing to them. So again, that's just another aspect of how these civil laws and all of the other laws really kept us together as a nation, you know? And that's, you got anything?
Oh, no.
Okay, Con. Say if you got anything at any point, you can hop in.
This is good.
Yeah, Con. And like I said, it's so much. You know, we can go into this all day about how many laws there are, but I definitely, want to urge our people, man, get in your books and read. It's so imperative that we do this. And watch, go to Sirach, the book of Ecclesiasticus.
One of the best books.
Chapter 8. Con. It's so important. And the thing is, like I said, like, when you really read the Bible, you really understand that this truth is more than beard and fringes. Like,
Yeah.
it's so much more than that. When you look at all the great people that the Most High had, held in such esteem and had so much love for in the scriptures, they all had one common thing, and it's their actual mind and how they loved their nation and how they thought about the Most High and His law. Like, they wasn't just walking around on some, like, whatever tip. Like, no, like, they really had a genuine love for the law of the Most High and for their people. You gotta love these civil laws to be loved by the Most High. Like, that's why when you look at that situation, because a lot of people don't even really look at it on this level, but everyone's familiar with the story of Abigail and Nabal, right? So one of David's wives, before David became actual king, he was on the run from Saul, and he had a platoon of his soldiers with him, or a group of his soldiers with him, and he was in the wilderness running, and he came across this wealthy man named Nabal, and he had sheep, oxen, all type of stuff, and David actually helped Nabal, I want to say, by helping feed his sheep or doing something of that nature, but keeping his property intact. David, like, hey, he came up on him. I know you don't know me, brother, but I helped you out, blah, blah, blah. All David asked for was some food. And Nabal went off on him, like, pretty much saying, like, nigga, I don't know you. Like, who is you? I never told you to touch my sheep. I didn't ask for your help, blah, blah, blah. David was about to put that man to death for that. And the Most High was fine with it. But Abigail, Nabal's wife, came and saved him because she ended up feeding David and his men. But the thing is, he was being stingy and was getting ready to get put to death for that. David was a righteous man. It wasn't like he didn't know what he was doing. I'm righteously about to put this man to death because he's being stingy. That's against the laws of the Bible. Because we have laws to where you're supposed to allow people who don't have it to glean off your land. So, man, like, we got to really start checking our spirits. Man, I want to say 1 Samuel chapter... Or it might even be 2 Samuel.
Is it 1 Samuel 20? Is it like
when David pacifies my Abigail?
Yeah.
1 Samuel 20:25.
Yeah, read 1 Samuel chapter 25. It's a good book because it really helps, keep things in perspective on how we're supposed to be towards the nation. And like I said, David was about to put that man to death for that alone. Now, it said that he was an evil and churlish man, so clearly he was doing some other unrighteous things, but that was just like the icing on the cake when it came down to it at the end of the day. So what the Most High did was he saved David from having to have blood on his hands by killing that man. The Most High put him to death for him. And he ended up leaving with old dude's wife and all of her servants. Dude ended up leaving with like 3 or 4 wives. But just goes to show, when you upright, the Most High will look out for you. When you have that genuine love for the people, it wasn't like David was tripping off of nothing. He was more upset that man was stingy. It's like, dog, how could you not have that love for your people? Because David, knowing the type of man he was, he would put his life on the line for Nabal, and he didn't even know him. You got to remember how David even came up. He was keeping the sheep. When Samuel came to David, say, hey, you going to be the king of Israel? He was like me? I guess. Didn't even know every single Israelite in the nation, but still put his life on the line to fight Goliath when all the warriors of Israel was like, nah, we good. It looks like we just going to have to go into captivity because I'm now about to lose my life fighting this gigantic dude. I'm trying to get to that mind state. That's when the Most High is rocking with you. And it's crazy because, like, you see the arrogance and the pride of all of our other brothers. Oh, the Most High is working with us. Dog, you do not know that. You saying that. I've never heard David say that in a boastful tip. He said it when he had to check things, like when he was checking his other wife when she was tripping on him for dancing because they got the Ark of the Covenant back. She was tripping on him, you dancing in front of everybody. He said, hey, hold on. For one, it was me who the Most High chose over your father. That's the only time he flexed, and it wasn't like on some boastful tip. He had to check his situation.
Being honest.
Being honest.
Because he was for sure about that.
That's what I'm saying, though. Like, you really gotta pay attention to brothers, man. And brothers, and sisters, y'all really gotta check y'all spirits. Got to be humble. I'm trying to be like Moses. It said there was no man more humble than Moses. I want to be like Moses.
Meek.
Let's read that. Sirach chapter 8, verse 15 and 16.
The book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 8 and verse 15. Travel not by the way with a bold fellow.
That's 8 and 15?
Con.
Nah.
Ecclesiasticus 8 and 15.
9 and 15. I'm sorry about that.
Con. The Ecclesiasticus chapter 9, verse 15. Let thy talk be with the wise.
See, let thy talk be with the wise. Wisdom, around wisdom. That's where your conversation needs to be. That's what your conversation needs to be about. Go ahead.
And all thy communication.
All thy communication. I'm not saying I do this. I want to build up to this. I want it to where everything that I'm speaking about is what?
In all thy communication in the law of the Most High.
Dude, the scriptures say, whatsoever a man thinketh, so shall he be.
Con.
If you thinking righteously, you thinking and contemplating about the laws, you're going to be an upright individual. Because that means you checking yourself when you on that BS. That means you checking your brothers and their sisters when they on that BS. You build up that love for your people by the practicing of these commandments. Go ahead.
And let just men eat and drink with thee.
It says, and let just men eat and drink with thee. Our people are so caught up of trying to find this balance of, oh, you know, I'm an Israelite, but I still got my homies in the world. Dog, that's not conducive to your situation. Christ did it, but look at what he was doing it for. When you got family members and friends who you've been preaching to for 10 years, and they're not showing any signs of repentance, that's not who you need to be kicking it with like that. It's a balance. It's a balance to it. These brothers up in here, these sisters up in here, these are who you need to be eating and drinking with, those who are on the same path. Go ahead.
And let thy glorying be in the fear of the Most High.
That's what your glorying needs to be in, the fear of the Most High. I don't want to hear about how you had a stressful week at work. I want to hear about how temptation came on you and you thought about the law of the Most High and he know you was going to get judged if you didn't keep the commandments, and that's how you overcame that situation. Let me hear about that. Let me hear those stories of how you was keeping the commandments compared to how you could have sinned and been all off. Like, that's what I want to hear. We need to glory in those type of things, honestly. And like I said, because of the way the Bible is taught nowadays and just the spirit of how it's out there, people, they make it seem so corny to talk about the Bible and stuff, man. Like, no, this is dope. Yeah. This is dope. See, we gotta get that type of swag back, and that's why, you know, I'm glad, you know, brothers is making music and stuff again. Because real quick, go to Joel 2:27. That's my last scripture. It goes back to having our confidence in the Most High and our confidence within ourselves, having that high self-esteem. Our people have low.
It feel like, you know, how people say we're under grace now. It's like, you don't even need this Bible then, if that's the point.
It's
you
like,
know what I'm saying? So like you say, what is there to talk about?
That's what I'm saying.
What is there to conversate about? Why would I read all of this and study all of this?
Exactly.
We're just under grace.
Exactly.
You know
They make it whack and they make it unrealistic. Like, to be a Christian, like, you believe in fairy tales. Like, honestly, it's retarded. The justifications that they have for their sin and stuff is like, dog, you telling me a man died, gave up his life so that you can make excuses about why you sin. It's not about making excuses, brother. We're under his grace now. I'm like, dude, so you telling me right now, if you say here, you came because I was sinning, you're okay with me shooting you in the head, and then once you go and I can go out and do that to everyone else, but you came for me to die to stop? Like, it's retarded, dog. It's retarded. It makes no sense. Go ahead and read that, though.
Joel what?
2:27.
The book of Joel, chapter 2 and verse 27. And ye shall know that I am in the midst of Israel.
See, the Most High said, you should know that I am in the midst of you. My spirit dwells amongst you, Israel. Go ahead.
And that I am the Most High your power.
And he's the Most High, our power. Go ahead.
And none else.
And nobody else's. Go ahead.
And my people shall never be ashamed.
And we should never be ashamed. A lot of times we're still so ashamed to fully just go out on the limb and say, you know, I'm going to be all the way righteous. Because you're still trying to look some type of way for those who's not keeping the commandments wholeheartedly and sincerely. Brothers be trying to hide their fringes, finding the smallest ribbon of blue they could find. Like, dog, have confidence in who you are and who the Most High called you to be. He said we should never be ashamed. I'm trying to get to that point because, you know, we do that. Like, you might see some foul stuff going on amongst brothers and sisters. You may catch wind of it, and you know what you tell yourself? I don't want to get involved. That's not my mess. That's not the righteous thing to do, though. You can correct somebody to say their life. It's your obligation to go over there and correct that situation. I'm trying to get to that point where I'm not ashamed of the laws of the Most High God. Was that all of that?
Con, that's all that verse.
So
I got a scripture.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll read it for you and you can expound on it.
Okay.
Psalms 19 and 7.
I'll read it for you. I can show scripture.
All right, for sure.
The book of Psalm, chapter 19, verse 7. The law of the Lord is perfect.
So everything that he just went through about the civil laws, you know, he's saying that these laws, they are perfect. You know, because like he was explaining before, man, there's no way you can get around with the accident. There's no way you can get around when it comes to thieves or murder. You know, he covers every single thing in every corner. He leaves no stone unturned. The law of the Lord is perfect. Go ahead.
The law of the Lord is perfect, converting the soul.
Right, converting the soul. You didn't know better. Now you know. Now you know what's right from wrong. Now you gonna be, you know, knowing better to do better. You know, it's the law of the Lord is perfect, converting the soul. Go ahead.
The testimony of the Lord is sure, making wise the simple.
So making wise the simple. Read verse 8.
The statutes of the Lord are right.
Right, they are right. That's the word from it goes from the word to righteous. That's what makes a man righteous if he's abiding in the law. He's doing what's right. Right, go ahead.
Rejoicing the heart.
Rejoice in the heart, go ahead.
The commandment of the Lord is pure, enlightening the eyes.
So the commandment of the Lord is pure. There's no blemishes. That's why when you read in the New Testament, I don't know where it's at, but it said the law of the Lord worketh no ill to his neighbor. Yeah. Man, you treat your brother according to the law. If he sees it wrong to him, then because he's not keeping the law. But if your brother accepts you, how you treat him according to the law, then there's love. There's connection in there. You know, that's walking with enlightenment in the eyes, you know. That's it.
It's beautiful scripture.
Civil
beautiful
law.
scripture. So,
Hey, with that Joel 2:27, when it say, "My people shall never be ashamed," can you use that in a sense of like, we're not ashamed to keep these laws?
it's really like I said, the scriptures are so dynamic because, of course, we should never be ashamed to keep these laws, but like that plays into like the lives of our people, because the thing is, you know, the scripture said like the righteous are as bold as lions. It's like everyday situations that we come across where we can spring into action and actually show that we're keeping these commandments, but instead we rather sit back and be on some like, nah, I'd rather just not get involved type stuff, when that's not necessarily the right thing to do. And like you said, also too, just with everything, like you're not gonna be ashamed, like the small things. Jakes be applying for the job. Oh man, yeah, I gotta go in for another Sabbath, man. Boss won't let me get it off. When you're not ashamed of the Most High, you're gonna say to hell with that job. For one, when you go in there, you letting them know what the issue is anyways. I'm not working Saturday. Don't ask me. Like, it's part of my... You'll go in with that type of attitude instead, and you'll be like, so how'd the interview go? Oh, you know, it was good. Like, did you tell them about the Sabbath? No, I didn't even tell them. They didn't really ask about it, so... But then when the time comes, you sitting there working on a Sabbath. So it's all of that, you know? You just won't be ashamed, period. So, but man, with that being said, you know, I'm gonna close the lesson out there. Like I said, brothers and sisters, please read your Bibles. Read the first 5 books. You'll get a real good understanding of the laws and all the different categories that I mentioned earlier. And be sure to tune in next week as well. Brother, next Tuesday we'll be going into a different category. With that being said, shalom.
Shalom.
Y'all have a good one.